This is this will turn out to be sort of a mailbag essay because there are a few stories I've been reading over the holiday and this morning as well that I was just going to touch on briefly and share some takes, ask for some feedback from you nice people, which is always appreciated, and the along with the restacks and your efforts to share this, if possible, off of the platform, just to get a little bit more mileage. So I think the title of this was Chips, Salsa, and Bibi's Not the Worst. I was consuming a lot of content about America's race with China for supremacy in the AI realm. We're going to be, I mean, they're the other big dog. We're going to be racing against them for military hegemony. But those, of course, AI and military weapons of war, space, are all interconnected in a meaningful way. But for the for today's purposes, I would just try to line up the two countries on where they are now and where we can expect them to go in the next number of years, most particularly for the remainder of the Trump administration. So, if you would, if you'd allow me to, I would argue that the component parts of this exercise are chips, talent, and energy. Excuse the background noise as I'm enjoying a beautiful 35-degree day in northern Massachusetts, and had our first snowfall this morning. So that was fun. Fun for the dog, fun for all involved. So let's say chips, U.S. winning to some degree. It's open to argument. If you speak to, you will have perhaps gathered that I am not a nuclear scientist, not a doctor, and I am not a principal at NVIDIA. We are, because of NVIDIA, uh, we are uh, we are ahead of China at this point in the quality of the chips that we have, the power of these chips, and we're first in line. So we have access to the most important chips that are on the market now and will for some time. Uh, China, massive effort and a longer time horizon because they can afford to be patient. It's they're they're planning the psychology of Chinese state planning on military and technology is more the 10, 20, 30-year variety, a futurist's approach, if you will. And and for the United States in general, and now particularly with the Trump administration, it is the difference between eh, time horizon is the amount of hours between meal periods, which is an exaggeration, but a useful framing because we're less patient, more impulsive, and that does not um, always help us. We are aggressive and innovative, so that sort of short term thinking, get it now, work hard, all positive. But you have to have both, and we don't. And inserting the Trump administration, including all of the distraction that comes with it around there's only 24 hours in a day. And if you set aside 5 or 6 to sleep and then half of the balance to corrupt endeavors, then it leaves very little time to complete the other important tasks during the day. So on the tech side, we're ahead. China's closing not fast, but they're closing steadily. That's steadily is a good adverb, I guess, to describe how the Chinese operate. Slow and steady, as they say, slow and steady wins the race. We're doing just fine. On the talent, interrelated, what um, what distinguishes the two countries is elite universities. We still have a substantial edge in just the talent of the professors that instruct tomorrow's leaders in these important industries. We're well ahead. But you put restrictions on immigration, which means you're getting less of the best instructors and less or fewer of the most talented students. That has an effect in the long term. Not this week, not between Big Macs with or without extra special sauce, but in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, when this whole ball game is going to be decided. The failures of the Trump administration and immigration talent will be profound. Energy. We are leading. But again, what is the Trump administration doing to expand, if you will, the our national energy infrastructure, just to give it a name? Uh, Solar, wind, more traditional sources of electricity. What is China's using stopgap measures, thermal, utilizing more coal this year than they probably did in the last few, because they know they need to fill in the gap between today and when all of their wind and solar and alternatives come online. So they are growing at a much faster rate, like 3, 4, 5x in various disciplines, if you will, the wind and solar. The Trump administration is severely limiting wind and solar on philosophical or political grounds, and because the big oil has been such active supporters of the GOP, the Republican Party and the Trump administration are, in fact, beholden to traditional legacy energy interests, the BPs and the Exxon Mobils, and the drilling in the Gulf and the Gulf of America. That's a problem, because as the Chinese are accelerating and providing more and more access to more and more energy from a vast number of sources. I won't touch on nuclear today because that's also a very important component, but it's safe to say we're kind of equal on that right now. But the Chinese are going to jump ahead of us in that realm as well. So the end of the chips part of the discussion is parity, sort of. We're up a little bit in talent, certainly with NVIDIA, but all we need is the Trump administration is pulling back on two of those three legs of the stool substantially, aggressively pulling back on two of the three legs. That's an issue. And then, oh, I don't know, Taiwan, Taiwan Semiconductor, where the vast majority of NVIDIA chips are currently made. We have that blows up, figuratively or literally, we're in trouble. So it would be better to have a more responsible, diversified approach to energy and a more welcoming and intelligent approach to talent, i.e., immigration, e.g., universities, and all of the silliness that's going on with the administration now. So that would wrap up the chips. The salsa is Mr. Hernandez, the former, I guess we'd call him Juan Orlando, is the former president of Honduras, recently uh, pardoned within the last week by the Trump administration and released from custody only yesterday, or officially yesterday, on the second day of December. The gentleman was sentenced to 42 years in federal prison for importing massive amounts of cocaine, other bad acts, but traditional ones, just a day out with the boys. But just from how do you put into context for people that are not avid followers of international drug trade? I lived in Miami for 25 years and in Venezuela as well. So it's a subject that I've read a little bit about, at least. 750 metric tons of cocaine. Let's use that as a number. And that's the amount that 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 the former president of Honduras, Mr. Hernandez, what he pled to. That's what the government accused him of bringing in, that and some other criminal activity, some weapons charges. But that amount of that's not kilos, that's not pounds, not ounces, not eight balls, not grams. That's metric tons. So the amount over years that he was charged with bringing into the United States is as much as the U.S. imports in a year. A good year. It fluctuates. It's depends what's going on, what sort of special events. But it's a lot. Do the math. Tons, 2,000 pounds a ton, and then multiply that out. Also not a math major, but it's a lot of blow. It is a whole bunch. And this administration being hard, or at least, or death on drugs, as indicated by their behavior in the Caribbean, shooting drones, aiming drones and shooting missiles at boats that may or may not contain illicit drugs, and killing people, or going back, doubling back, and killing the ones that they missed. You would take a snapshot. You would say, these are people that are taking the drug trade and the way that it affects the United States, they're taking it pretty seriously. And then they pardon this nice gentleman. He may face, if he chooses to go home, which I don't know why he would. How much did he bribe or pay off the administration for his freedom? We don't know that yet, but we'll know it. You can just guess, like a lot of like 750 metric tons is a lot of cocaine. It's probably a lot of money if you're somebody who was not just selling that much cocaine. If you were just close to it, you could afford to incentivize a willing partner like the Trump administration to get you a pardon. And that's what they did. Details to follow, but he's out as of yesterday. So that reframes, if you needed to reframe Venezuela, the Caribbean, Pistol Pete Hegseth, double back, double down, drones and missiles. If you needed to reframe that in your mind in a way to come to terms with, is it okay to just kill people who we've not identified under the suspicion that they may be either smuggling humans or drugs? Is that okay when there's a very practical alternative? Follow the law, call the Coast Guard. They do it. That's their job. They do it all day, every day. So we got chips and salsa, and my apologies to my we'll call my Latino friends to overgeneralize and say salsa for and refer to two countries that are not Mexico that are normally which is normally associated with salsa, but it was a cheat code, and it was right there, and I took it. And then the final item today was the first day. This morning was the beginning of the New York Times Deal Book Summit in beautiful New York City, and taking place right off of Columbus Circle. And a great time to be in. Any time is a great time to be in New York. But the Deal Book Summit is a wonderful event where thought leaders and publishers and influencers and social media folks and former retired presidents, not the former president of Honduras, although he may have received an invitation. I'm not certain, but they gather together and talk about, exchange deep thoughts and highfalutin ideas, and do what intelligent, overnourished people do when they're put in a room together, and sometimes just add alcohol, and it's fantastic. But one of the folks on the New York Times website for the Deal Book 2025 is Ehud Barak, who is the former Israeli prime minister. And it's fun that he's allowed to come and go to New York, but Bibi Netanyahu is not, because of the ICC and some differences of opinion that they have with Mr. Netanyahu. But Mr. Barak comes and goes as he pleases. He is also prominently featured in the Epstein files, and is in many ways singled out as a particularly unpleasant and aggressive individual by Miss Giuffre, who unfortunately committed suicide earlier this year, and many of the other victims highlight the former prime minister's participation. And one interesting parallel where Donald Trump frequently says, well, I severed ties with Jeffrey Epstein when I found out what a bad guy he was. As soon as I found out, that was it. I took a principled stand, and I had nothing further to do with him, which the facts proved to be less than 100% true. And in the case with former Prime Minister Barack, his the number of meetings that he had with Jeffrey Epstein directly tapered off. So much so that after his Mr. Epstein's conviction, they only had 3 dozen more meetings after his conviction. So if he was unsure about what the conviction, the sort of message that was being sent by the conviction, the nature of the crimes, then he took 36 more opportunities to try to get his mind around what a bad guy this was, that he has many business dealings with, hundreds of documented flights with Epstein on Epstein's plane, and the more sordid and repulsive um, details that are contained in the accounts of the victims, which are legalistically, are all victim testimony evidence? No. Can you draw inferences by the ridiculous number of similar accounts of behavior in the same individual for the same behavior? Yeah, do the math yourself, or ask Chat GPT. It ain't good. It's not going to age well, and he, among many others, are repulsive figures. And so he and some other fringe members of the Epstein files are spending this first few days of this week together at off of Columbus Circle. Um, yeah. So if you happen to be attending the New York Times Deal Book Summit, stop by and say hi. Ask some questions. If you're a journalist, do what journalists do. Ask some questions. Probably get a lot of no comment. Free country, or I mean, it used to be, but still, if you're in the neighborhood, right off Central Park, as you know, southwest corner of Central Park, lovely area, lovely late fall day, a little bit chilly as it is in here in Massachusetts, but yeah, so that is chips, that is salsa, and that is Bibi ain't the worst, or something like that. And that's my essay for the day. We'll have more. Took a couple extra days off after the holiday. We'll be back on a normal schedule, a full daily schedule in the new year. A few different pieces. The promised or threatened best of book lists are still. I've just keep what I do when I do lists like that is I end up rereading books, which is wonderful, but it gets me off of my schedule. But you could have much worse problems, like Israel has worse prime ministers than Bibi, worse problems than too much reading. That would be if that's the biggest problem, then we're all doing really well. It's not the biggest problem we're all facing right now, but I will endeavor. I will get them done. It's just a matter of when, and they'll be in the feed. One list for books, mostly short stories, for this particular time, with a particularly absurdist twist. Then my personal top 5 or more for the year. And yeah, so if you would, thank you for your patience. And um, as my wife was reminding me that, don't stay outside too long because it's only 34 degrees or whatever it is. And I said, "Oh, don't. The cold weather will help me keep it moving." So you saw how that worked out. Short-winded, yeah, no, it doesn't work with me. It just keeps going. And I'm seeing somebody about that. So if you would kindly restack, subscribe, like, share, and do all of those wonderful new age things that the kids are always talking about. And I'll catch up with you in the not too distant future. And have a most beautiful afternoon. Thanks very much.